Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new here, my name is Kayla and I make videos about all things BPD. Now, if you have been following along for the past couple of months, you will know that I'm releasing videos about the individual symptoms associated to BPD. And so today we're going to be talking about the fourth symptom, which is the one relating to impulsivity, as well as how to help and what to do about it. The DSM defines this fourth symptom as impulsivity, and more specifically as impulsivity in at least two areas that are potentially damaging. So things like sex, spending, reckless driving, substance abuse, binge eating. It's also important to know that this symptom does not include suicidal or self-mutilating behaviors. Just a friendly reminder that there exists 9 criterions for BPD and that you need at least 5 to be diagnosed with it. So it's not everyone who will experience impulsivity. You don't need to check off all the boxes. However, I do want to mention that with myself and others that I've spoken to with BPD, impulsivity does seem to be a recurrent issue. Impulsivity and emotional dysregulation seem to be core features of BPD, and because impulsivity seems to occur mainly under high emotional stress, within BPD it has been conceptualized as a mechanism deriving from malfunctioning emotion regulation systems. The biosocial model proposed by Marshall Linehan emphasizes the role of this invalidating environment within the development of impulsivity. Specifically, this theory proposes that difficulties with emotion regulation stemming from childhood adversity leads to an increase of impulse coping strategies to help down-regulate negative emotions. I want to highlight the fact that yes, impulsivity can be very obvious things like substance abuse. It can also be seen as more discrete things like impulsivity of speech. So for example, if you have someone who has BPD who also has this specific behavior of being impulsive, they might have more of an inclination to blur out maybe hurtful or mean things during arguments because they don't have as much as the impulse control filter that helps regulate their interactions with others. You might also be tempted to think that these impulsive actions or behaviors will help. I will tell you that they might help in the short term, but usually not in the long term. And what's really tricky with managing these impulses is that because these urges or desires are so strong within us, it feels as though if we don't do them right this second, our whole world will cave in. One theory that's useful in helping us understand these urges that we have within ourselves is the Chimp Paradox. This is a book by Steve Peters, and within this book, the author articulates that we all have this inner chimpanzee, this chimp within us, who is essentially our limbic system and who usually thinks in emotional or even irrational ways. Now, this chimp has 2 primary goals. The first one being self-survival and the second one being perpetuating the species. And in order to achieve those goals, this chimp only adheres to the laws of the jungle. So it only cares about 2 specific things: instincts and drives. Real-life chimpanzees are actually 1.5 times stronger than humans in specific tasks, and when we think about this internal chimp, it also feels the same way. It feels as though it's that much stronger than us because it has all of these natural drives for survival. It feels as though we need to do what it's telling us. So things that we can do to help calm down this internal chimp is to either distract it. So if it's obsessing about the need to eat or binge eat because it's an essential thing for survival, you can distract it by doing something else. So think about the image of a monkey who's like shaking at the cage waiting for a banana, and then if you put in the cage some little things for it to play with, it might start building something and forget that it's even hungry. The second thing we can do to help tame this chimpanzee is to box it. So we want to let the chimp speak, to let it have the space that it needs to be heard. We need to recognize that what it's saying might not make sense, but it needs to be heard by us. And the more space we allow for this chimpanzee to breathe, the more the voice gets small, the more the urges diminish, and eventually the chimpanzee is going to get tired because it's had the space to run around and do its thing. You can then put it in a box, put it to sleep, and box it away. This whole concept of the Chimp Paradox leads me to my next point, which is what the hell do I actually do about the fact that I'm impulsive? The first thing you can do is to use chain analysis. I will link a PDF in the show notes down below if you're not sure what that looks like. But a chain analysis allows us to identify what was the impulsive behavior, what happened before, what were the feelings and thoughts and the consequences, so that you can start to tease out specific triggers or instances where it might be a pattern that you're impulsive, but until you recognize what the pattern is, it's very difficult to change your environment. The second thing I will recommend is to practice mindfulness. Now, mindfulness can be awesome because it can allow us to catch ourselves when we're being impulsive. It can also allow us to finally understand that we are not our feelings and that we don't need to act accordingly to everything that pops up. Feelings are there to give us examples of how we could react, but they're not there to tell us how we must react. Other things that you could do would be to use distract skills from the distress tolerance module in DBT. So using the tip skills, so tipping the temperature, putting cold water on your face, taking a cold shower, jumping in the snowbank if you live in Canada or somewhere where there is snow, using intense exercise, so going for a run, doing a few push-ups, jumping jacks, or a few sprints, and using paced breathing, so making sure that we're exhaling longer than we're inhaling to slow down our heart rate. The idea of all of these distract skills from DBT is to bring down our physiological reaction to stress so that we're not as reactive to these urges, and when we're able to distract yourself long enough, the urge usually passes. As always, I'm curious to hear from you. What has helped you deal with impulsivity? Let me know in the comments down below. If you found this video useful, be sure to give it a like. It is awesome for the YouTube algorithm, meaning that the more people like my video, the more it will get recommended. The more it gets recommended, the more people watch it, and the more that we break down stigma surrounding BPD. If you're not already, I encourage you to hit the subscribe button down below, as well as the bell notification up top to get notified when I do post new videos every Monday. On that note, thank you so much for watching. I wish you all the best week, and I will see you back here next time for another episode of On the Line.